I'm not sure if you guys have been aware of what's been going on the internet lately. A new game recently came out. Maybe you've heard of it. It's not that big. I mean, it's called Palworld, and yeah, it's kind of destroying the Pokemon fan base as we speak. So, if you're not aware, a new game just came out, I think around January 19th, if I'm not mistaken, which, to sum it up in one phrase, is basically Pokemon with guns. This game is out and available right now on Steam and Xbox Game Pass. It's causing a big rift in the Pokemon community because a lot of the characters, or the creatures rather, in this game are heavily inspired by Pokemon designs, to kind of phrase it that way. Now, I wanted to just kind of give my 2 cents on the whole situation and, talk about whether or not I feel like this is a blatant ripoff of Pokemon, or whether or not this is gonna cause issues for Game Freak and Nintendo and the Pokemon Company down the line. Whether or not this company that created Palworld is gonna get sued or not. So let's kind of dive deep into it a little bit. Are these designs authentic or are they plagiarized? It's very hard to say. A lot of them, you can clearly see what Pokemon was influenced based on this design. These creatures, I think, are called Pals, if I'm not mistaken. I'm really not well versed in it at all. This game kind of felt like it came out of nowhere, seemingly, but it was announced in Summer Game Fest earlier last year. But anyways, a lot of these creatures here, you can clearly see what Pokemon they took inspiration from. There's a creature here that looks like a mix between Meganium and Lilligant and Goodra. There's another big yellow creature that looks similar to Electabuzz. The color palette and just kind of the vibe it gives off just screams Electabuzz. There's a few more. In one of the trailers, you saw your player character riding on a deer-like creature, but it looks very much like Cobalion. There's also another creature that you can tell looks very similar to Lucario, and another one that looks very, very similar to Luxray. So a lot of this has been causing people on Twitter and on YouTube and on the internet in general to start coming at this game because they felt like they're essentially stealing the ideas from Pokemon. And I can totally understand that feeling. My first instinct looking at these creatures, and the first instinct I looked at them and thought, okay, the designs of these, like the art design itself, is very much taken from Pokemon. Like, certain eyes of these creatures are the same eyes that are used for certain Pokemon. Their mouths, their teeth, the shapes of their bodies, it's all pulled very much from there. But there's enough differences there to kind of have it be its own thing too. However, besides the designs of these creatures, the gameplay of this game is a mishmash of so many different genres and games that exists, where it's not exactly Pokemon. Like, sure, you run around and you capture these creatures, but you're in this big open world space where it kind of gives off vibes of Breath of the Wild. There are crafting mechanics, so it feels kind of like Minecraft. There's a lot of stuff going on in this game, and I have yet to play it, and I guess I can't really give my full opinion on it until I do play it. But looking at the gameplay of it really kind of makes me more upset at Game Freak, more so than this company that made this Palworld game. Mostly because I see what this indie developer essentially can create, and it looks very much like a modern day, or rather it looks like what a modern day Pokemon game should look like, obviously without the guns and all those things, obviously, but I feel like Game Freak is slacking in that sense, you know, like they're not putting in the effort that they could to make Pokemon reach its full potential. And that's what upsets me more than anything. Like, I love Pokemon as a series, as a franchise. I grew up on it. You know, I'm drawing these creatures, you know, for fun, and there's so many of them, and I feel like every single design is very unique and brings something to the table. But then the recent games I haven't really been into at all. Like Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, I bought the games, but they felt kind of soulless. When I did beat the game, I never looked back. I didn't touch the DLC that just came out recently, and I feel like it's difficult for me to actually play that game just because of how poorly optimized it actually is. And I will admit, the first time playing through Scarlet and Violet, I did have fun, as a lot of people did, and the main recurring, I guess, consensus for those games was that it runs like a mess, but it's still fun. And with Palworld, I'm hearing, yeah, it's kind of plagiarizing Pokemon, but it's still fun. So there's obviously something that works with this gameplay mechanic being, you know, running around a big open field and discovering different creatures and capturing them. There's something there, and Pokemon tapped into that first, and they're kind of letting that slip. Other companies, other developers are doing it better than they are, and this is where it's going to become a problem for them down the line. So whether or not, well, do I think this is the end of Pokemon? Absolutely not. It's way too big to fail. You know, even if Palworld is gonna sell better than Scarlet and Violet, the next Pokemon game is gonna come out and still do gangbusters. Probably with minimal effort on Game Freak's part again, but that's neither here nor there. I just feel like this should be a wake-up call for Game Freak. They should look at this and say, all right, if we don't actually step up and make Pokemon games reach their potential, there are going to be other companies that do it better than we can. And, you know, Pokemon will never die, but it will probably drop in terms of how big it is. It might not be as big as it is now in like 10 years. And that it kind of sucks to think about, you know, because you would want to assume that a franchise this big that has so much great history behind it could possibly, you know, fizzle into a shadow of what it once was, just because you know, the developers are kind of okay with putting out mediocre products. But that's all I've got to say about this. I'm really curious what you guys think about Palworld. You know, are you playing the game? Are you staying away from it because you don't want to get involved with that? You feel like, you know, it is plagiarizing on Pokemon? Or do you not care because the gameplay looks fun and you want to have a Pokemon-like experience that Game Freak is just not providing for you? Let me know in the comments down below, and I'll catch you guys next time. See ya.